Everyone, my name is Sai Prithvi and my USN is 2SD21 EC072. This is my CCN CTA assignment. So let's begin with the topic. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the RS232 communications demonstrator program that's been given to me that you can download from eConstoga. So you are going to download RS232-Windows zip and you will unzip it, bring it to the desktop. Once you have it, take a look inside. You will have three files inside that zip file. And what we're going to do is we have a client, we have an interface, and we have the implementation. Now the client is meant to testify or show how the interface actually works. One of your jobs this week is to actually go through the program through the Windows communications API and basically explain each line of the code. Now I've added some of the comments, but your job is going to understand how this is going to work. So first thing we need to go is we need to take these files and import them into a solution. So open up a Visual Studio Code. Uh, we will use Visual Studio Code. So create a project, create a new project. I'm going to create a console application and hit next. This is going to be called RS232. Okay, and then where it's going to be inside. We're going to desktop. We're going to RS232, Windows, and select this folder. Okay, so this program is going to show. We are going to show that we can both send and receive data between two virtual ports. You can also use your real ports. Like I said before, if you connect the USB to RS232 adapter or two of the to two USB ports on your machine, and then you can connect two your ports together to two RS232 connectors together using a crossover cable. Then you will be able to communicate between the transmitter and receiver pin of the two ports. Anyway, let's keep going. So we have our project and we have Windows. Okay, so let's click the create button. As the solution is created, we gonna do basically do is always we are gonna do here. We have, you can see here that we have created this new folder. Now we don't need this RS232 CPP is the same name as the folder. It's name of the solution. We just need to know where to put it. So we can take these, just copy them to our and take this folder. And we don't need this RS232. This is the, if you look here, this is just hello world. Okay, so if you go in here, I'm going to remove this. I'm actually going to delete it from the folder as well. Okay, so remove it from the solution. And what I want to do is I want to add an existing item. I need to add the interface for the RS232 communications module. So click add, and then we're going to add the client and the implementation. So existing item, I need the client which is and we have the implementation for the communications module, and click add. Okay, so now we have the our interface. Okay, our interface is just, it's just very basic. It's just function prototypes that we are going to use. Okay, so there's some functions that we are written to support. Okay, they support these functions. We'll discuss these shortly, but we have our client, and here is our implementation. Actually, what I should do is going in, and you should probably do the same thing. In copy this, Control C, go to here, and what you want to do is just put it right over here, RS232, and this is C CPP. Okay, and this is the implementation. Okay, and then click save all. All right, you always want to have these headers. Okay, anyway, these are the implementation functions. Your job is week is to study and the Windows Communications API. Okay, so we have see this create file comes from windows.h. Okay, so this provides the functions so for serial communications in Windows. Okay, and so we are calling a lot of these functions saw before. These are a wrapper functions. So I'll put we are basically calling the write file. There's the write file, there's the read file. Okay, these are Windows API functions, and everything else that I have is a wrapper. So create file, set com parameters. These are I mean this is a wrapper to this right here, setcom state, setcom timeouts, memset. These are all part of the API, and your job is going to be research and explain all of these things. I've put a lot of comments here to help you a little bit. Okay, so this is where we are here now. Let's go here and we have to let's save all and let's take a look. Okay, so once we have downloaded everything, first thing we want to do is I want to just do show you exactly what's happening here. So the demonstrator program does two things. Okay, it sets up basically two virtual ports. Okay, COM6 and COM7. These are the two serial ports were set up as virtual, sorry, not serial, virtual ports using COM0, COM0. If you are going to use real ports, you have to go into device manager. Okay, and you need to determine what those numbers are. If you have certain COM ports, you have to determine exactly which number they are. Now, if they are outside of a certain range, if they are greater than 10, then you have to choose them their format. So there's a certain format to follow in order for this naming convention. Okay, so just to show you, if the number exceeds 10, okay, if what you want to do is I'll show you here. There's a formatting here and I want to follow. If you go into the RS232 com.cpp, you go and you look down here, there's a comment in here that okay, right here, so say create port file. Again, your job is to going to be to look at this API. So if the com number is larger than 9, so we are at com6, com7, then what you need to do in your formatting, if I want to come to 10, then what I have to do is need to use this format instead. Okay, for the numbers. So just make sure that if you are trying to use something a com port that's greater than 9, you have to follow a different format. All right, so again, this client, what it's doing is it's setting up, okay, setting up and sending messages from a transmitter to a receiver. Okay, so we have two in this case. In my case here, com6 and com7 are virtual ports. Okay, and what I'm doing, I'm setting up, so I have a handle that points to the two, and that one I'm going to use for is transmit, and the other one I'm going to use for to receive. Okay, I have these are the n naming. This is our ports. This is a handle or basically a pointer to specific dot com port. Basically, the physical ports are treated like files. Okay, the same way we do the file IO, that's how we are going to treat these ports. So we are writing and reading from. When you read and write to a port, it's like reading and writing to a file. Okay, so we have communication rates. So this is 9600 baud, and this is how many bits per frame, and this is timeouts. Now you're going to have to study this is a part of the API, and you need to see this will change how you can change your bit rate for your communications. Okay, but you have to set this up. That's going to be part of your job. So anyway, what does this client do is the first things it does is it sets up both sides of the com link. So this link in it, this copper I've written for you, but you have to do it again, figure out what it does, and initializes the port and associates a handle. So HCOM receiver, okay, it's it's declared here, so we are passing a reference. We do pass by reference for this. All of these things are going to be set, so we initialize the port and associate this particular this name, okay, com7 with this handle. Okay, so we associate this name com6 HCOM transmitter handle, okay, and this is just set the like sets the communication rate. They have to be the same in order to communicate, okay. So I have an initialization. I put half of second of the sleep in between. You don't really need to put that, but I just put it anyway because when it prints out, it looks a little bit nicer. I'll show you what I mean. And then here we have a transmit side. This is the message going to be written to our transmit buffer. It's going to be output to that particular port, and then it's going to be written, well, it's going to output where going to wire in the virtual wire, and then it's going to be received, okay, by the on the receiving side's buffer, okay. It's going to be received and returned to this particular buffer, the message in buffer. So this is a buffer with space for a message, okay. This is the buffer that we are going to write to the output port, and this is the input buffer, okay, that's read at the receive port, okay. And then when you are done, after the we set up the connection, we send, we receive at the two different ports, and then we tear down both sides of the link. If I go in here, I just want to we'll go here for a second. I'm just going to give you a brief overview, but here we need to study these and the functions. So these are the wrappers, okay. So init port, it's a wrapper, and it just basically calls all of the sub functions that set up this function setup functions, okay. So create port right here, it basically uses the create file function to create a handle, right, or a pointer. So that comport to the to that comport, if there is a problem, it will tell you. So that's create port file. First port just purchase the port once it been case there is anything there. Then you have to create the parameters, things like the communications rate, how many bits per frame, and timeouts, any timeouts, and you can study actually the timeout in that section. In the set columns, set comprehends, this is where you are going to have to explain, but you see there's a structure DCB. This is the Windows device control block. It's a struct, and it has things like the baud rate, by how many bits per frame, if you are using parity, etc. And this is the part of your study, this particular function, okay. And this particular thing I want you to go do some research and this and that. Here these are the parameters, these are timeouts, okay. So basically this is something you're going to have to explain. I wanted to study this struct, okay, and I kind of give you some pointers, but I want to explain in it on words, okay. So we are going to go through here and just explain. This is going to do one of your job here. All right, so I'll save that, okay. So I'm going to demonstrate that this works, okay. So we are using we have input and an output, or transmit and receive. So if you go here and I'm going to push play, it might go on a different screen here. Let me see where it is, okay. So it shows up, and it shows up on a different screen, okay. So here we go. What exactly happened here? We had the communications port on the transmit side was opened, and the communications port on the received side was open, okay. And then we start transmitting, okay. So and this tells us the transmission was successful. So writing to the transmit port was successful, and then we also successfully read data from receive port, 16 bytes. So 16 bytes sent, 16 bytes received, and then we look at the received buffer to see what the received message was, okay. So that's basically what it does. Now if you want